So let's move on to James, who's been hurtling around the mountain roads of Sicily in a thumping great Maserati.
This is the Maserati Quattroporte. It costs £70,000, and in a world of German saloons shaped like briefcases, it looks absolutely beautiful. Quattroporte sounds exotic, but it simply means 4 doors. So is the rest of this car that simple?
Well, no. You see, most cars are fairly happy to be one thing, a hatchback or an estate car, but this Maserati wants to be 2 things. A dignified luxury saloon and a high-performance sports car.
It's Maserati's party piece, the original 1960s Quattroporte, inspired by the opening of Italy's new motorways, was once the fastest 4-door saloon in the world.
So, let's have a look at this car of 2 halves, beginning with luxury.
On the surface, it's all there. Leather from the most upmarket cows, plenty of space, stylish Italian detailing, and the whole thing smells like an expensive Florentine handbag.
But once you get on the move, Now my first beef about this car concerns its suspension. The low-speed ride is not exactly ministerial.
It's the sort of thing that big Jags and Mercedes do much better. My main complaint, however, concerns the gearbox.
Now, it's one of these flappy paddle jobs. It's a manual gearbox with an automated clutch. But when you're driving around town, you can press a button and turn it into a full automatic, which sounds great, but it's just, I don't know, sometimes it feels like Maureen from driving school is changing gear for you. And on her first lesson at that. It just isn't as good as a real automatic.
So, it's not brilliant when it's in executive wafting mode, and if I was Don Corleone and I'd just spent £70,000 on this, I think there'd be a horse's head in someone's bed by now. But let's see if you get your money's worth when it's a sports car. There's a place in Sicily that's just the job. The Targa Florio, miles and miles of bandit-ridden mountain roads that from 1906 to 1973 made up one of the greatest racetracks of the world. Over the years, the length of the course shrank from a staggering 700 miles to just 40. But even today, this route remains a great test of a car. The creator of this event was a man called Vincenzo Florio, and in the early days he had the only car on the island. But that wasn't going to stop him. He organised a race with a horse and a bicycle, and the horse won. So let's see if things have moved on. Right, once you start driving like an Italian, this starts to make much more sense. This is a fantastic bit of road. Because I've never been that keen on these flappy paddle gearboxes, but you can learn to use it. You actually can just keep your foot planted in the carpet and flick the paddles, but if you back off a bit, you can make the changes much crisper. You're getting to know it. You're building up a rapport with it. You can tell this is meant to be a sports car because of the engine. 4.2 V8, 400 horsepower. Fabulous. Listen to that. It's not just the engine itself, but where it is. They've shifted it well back behind the front wheels and put the gearbox at the back, all for better balance.
That's absolute supercar thinking, and it really shows. This is so chuckable for a 15-foot car. Can't you think you're in an MX-5 or something? If I suddenly get spattered with flecks of vomit, that's the sound man in the passenger seat. He's really not enjoying this. This is absolutely amazing. So imagine what this was like in the 1950s, in an old car with no ABS and no traction control, sheer drops down into that valley. I'm surprised anybody got to the end. In the early days of this race, the local bandits used to hide in the hills and take pot shots at the competitors as they went past, but they got around this problem by employing them as race marshals, shooting all the drivers. Not that they'd get me today, obviously, because I'm outrunning everything, even bullets. God, if I lived here, I'd kill myself. Actually, if you lived here, someone else probably kills you first. Well, that's another matter.
So, when you're in town and just wanting to cruise about, there are better cars for the job. But out here, in the mountains, the big Maserati is a glorious sports car. Sure, the Germans also do a nice line in fast four-seaters, but against the charisma of the Quattroporte, they look a little more like just the top rung of a company car pecking order. The Quattroporte has no diesel or estate version sullying its bloodline. It's something very special.
So, would you buy one?
No, I wouldn't, you see. If I was called Flavio and I lived in the Sicilian hills, then I would. It would be absolutely fantastic. But in real life, I just think a Jaguar XJR would be better.
Why?
Because, well, this, okay, is a purebred Italian supercar. It's just got 2 extra doors and 2 extra seats. But the Jaguar, that's really a conventional luxury car that just happens to have a supercar engine in it. And the Jaguar just makes more sense more of the time. It's that simple.
So what you're saying really is that buying one of these to use every day would be as daft as, you know, say buying a huge great off-roader in Surrey just to do the school run.
Exactly. It would be absolutely stupid.
That would be a preposterous thing to do.
Completely.
OK, so let's move on and do the news.